We got the Ryze bans in our first couple of games. We are on patch 6.10, guys, and a Zed. Well, BDD is a very famous Zed player.
He is
from solo queue.
He is. I want to see some Zed play now, man.
We had our Zed specialists already, Mickey and BDD.
I know. Faker. Faker is also a good Zed.
He is.
Sivir, the other ban, a popular ban tonight, apparently. And so waiting for one last one from ESC Ever.
Yeah, we don't have any jungle bans this game, which is already a big differentiating point from our last series.
Yeah, no kidding. But again, you know, with two, I think with two amateur junglers, I mean, or rookie junglers, I should say, I think people just want to see what these guys can do.
Well, also, you'd think maybe ESC Ever would want to try and pinch the jungle pool to make Haru less comfortable.
Well, you could say that. The
because
Nidalee pick is big.
Yeah, if they're going to first pick the Nidalee here, they may have been convinced to take a different pick if indeed that jungle pool had been pinched and there were more power picks available.
I mean, both junglers are going to get pretty good picks here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it looks like it may be the Kindred for Haru.
Yeah, CJ has preferred Kindred as a team because it allows them to kite. And most of CJ's compositions are late-game kiting compositions, or at least they were in the spring.
Hey, we can check out the Korean casters the entire time in picks and bans too now.
Nice.
Look at that.
They look so good on their casting couch, Doa.
Korean, I know, right? The casting couch, they were always meant to be there. Kindred locked in. And Jun on the left there. Cloud Templar in the middle. You remember him, right?
I do, yes. Yeah. I've known him for years.
And then Dongjun on the right. He's the one that everybody says looks like Tarek. Can you see it?
I can.
I can see
easily.
it too. Yeah.
So Aurelion Sol has been nerfed on this patch, but the Azir is taken away as expected by Ever, and they grab a top lane pick. So they show their solo lanes really early on, just trying to get strong picks and take those away from Untara and BDD. But the Maokai, the old Untara special, they'll be happy with that. Madlife maybe going back to the Braum. No Alistar, surprisingly.
Well, I mean, again, Alistar did get that nerf to his ultimate in the earlier levels, so he's still good. I mean, we still saw him tonight. He's still got great engage, but he is a little bit less tanky, so maybe we'll see him drop off a little bit.
Yeah, blind picking the Braum, though, when you don't have an AD carry that may synergize with him, and you're not really seeing much here that you can block with a Braum shield is a little bit unusual. They may be trying to preempt some. Wow, that is an immediate Ashe lock-in. And they take Ashe and Nidalee into Braum.
Into the Braum, yeah. Wow, that
I don't feel
bold.
good about that.
I think Madlife does.
Oh, Madlife, I'm sure, is fine. He's like, yes, you fell into my trap. Well, that's going to be a lot
really
to block now.
Trap.
He had nothing to block earlier, and now he's got a lot of spears, Ashe ultimates that he can deal with. So just a blind Ashe pick, and Ever is just blind picking pretty much every position in this draft.
That's brave. I don't know.
Kramer probably going back on that Ezreal big pick for him last season, and BDD may see that classic Azir Viktor matchup in the mid lane one more time.
Yeah, the Viktor makes sense. We saw that in the last game of the first match between Africa and Longitude.
Here we go. It's like those will be the likely picks to lock in. And this is just classic CJ.
Yeah.
Big front line, lots of late game damage and carry potential. Good zones, damage reduction coming from the Maokai ultimate and from the Kindred ult. Lots of CC. So Kramer will feel very safe as long as he doesn't get picked off by an Ashe arrow, but he's got a Braum shield and his E to avoid that fate. And we could get to see Keys Bard, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think we probably will. I mean, he's hovering over it right now, and why not lock it in? He's got such a legendary reputation on this champion. You got to go with it. You got to pick the Bard.
And we'll see how Key does, because one of the factors, obviously in the promotion match, he showed up and played very well, but one of the big factors at IEM Katowice was that Key was he looked like he was tilting. He was basically just dying for free over and over and over again in their last game against TSM and having exceptionally poor positioning on the map in team fights, overextending, getting caught constantly.
Right.
So I don't know if nerves have been an issue for him. He has been a little bit inconsistent with his play on a big stage.
Well, here's a chance for him to remedy that a little bit as he does lock in the Bard. And this is a huge match for both of these teams. CJ wanting to show that they have improved in the offseason, and ESC Ever trying to prove that they deserve to be here in LCK, and it's us again.
And then it's not.
And then it's not. And then it's the roster. Okay. Wow, exciting stuff.
So in this particular composition, they are relying on the Bard ultimate and an Ashe ultimate to engage for Ever, and they can follow that up with an Azir ult. They've got decent siege, decent poke right here, but CJ's composition is going to be pretty terrifying in the late game. It'll be hard for them to bust through, and if Madlife can land good unbreakables onto these engages, they should be in a pretty good position if it goes to 30-plus minutes.
Yeah.
And it's up to the rookie junglers right now. Bless on that Nidalee. If he can get a nice early farm advantage, may be able to make plays on the lanes. And the bot lane, especially from CJ, is going to have to be quite careful because after LokeN and Key hit level 6, it's going to be pretty brutal what can happen in ganks.
Yeah. I love Kramer's pose there. He's like, this is my clicking finger. Beware. This is the finger that kills.
He's right. It's his mouse finger.
Shh, don't disturb Madlife.
I would say that to be entirely accurate, if he's going to be an AD carry, he should be holding up his right-click finger, but that may not be appropriate.
It's tough. Well, it's time for game number 1, guys. CJ for ESC Ever. Show him your right-click finger. I don't know. I don't know if we can suggest that, Monty. Well, match 2, game 1, CJ Entus versus ESC Ever. Welcome to Skyforest.
Skyforest.
Skyforest square in the sky.
Much more accurate description, as we discussed earlier today, for Summoner's Rift, which contains no summoners. You know what's weird?
Or rifts.
Is that the summoners were never even on this, even when they were part of the lore.
Yeah, that's true.
They were never here in the first place.
They were. That's
They're just coward wizards.
They were you.
Somewhere else.
They were you and me.
Yeah, we were coward wizards, duh.
Yeah.
Afraid to get into the action.
I wasn't afraid. I just wasn't allowed.
Possessing other people.
Yeah, that was kind of bad of us, wasn't it?
Just warging right in there.
That's right.
And as we learned recently, that doesn't turn out well.
No. No, you don't want to. Don't want to. Man. Temptation to spoil growing.
Don't do it.
I won't. Infernal Dragon. Is it always the Infernal Dragon first? I believe
Nope.
it is.
No, it's random.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It's been the Infernal Dragon 5
Well,
games in a row now. I mean, 3 games. I don't know what it felt like 5 games since we started this broadcast. That's what I'm saying.
Is that what you're saying? Well, I'm saying we're going to see a lane swap right here. Kramer and Madlife, both looking to take the Gromp early on. Same thing on the bottom side for ESC Ever. So we will see a different lane swap than we saw in the first game of our last series.
Yeah. Gonna go for the Gromp.
Just going for that Gromp.
Right away.
Both junglers starting on the weak side. And that'll be it so far.
Oh, those cute penguins of death.
So Untara and Crazy doing the right thing, getting a little bit of XP and CS off of that first wave before they are chased out by the supports. You're going to be seeing this a lot more often.
Nice cosmic binding again immediately from Key to get that damage onto Untara.
Yeah, Key just being a jerk right there, trying to push him out. Madlife also being jerk. Jerk supports.
Jerk life. Being an annoying Braum. Doing what he can. Key's not done yet.
He's not done being annoying. There are trees that need to be cosmic. Oh, he didn't get it. Haru got it.
So close. Wow.
But he did what he could.
He did. E for effort.
Is that what you give for effort these days?
That's right. Because it's not, certainly not an A.
So you just give him a grade that doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Nice.
Because effort doesn't get the wins. Winning gets the wins.
I mean, Effort did get quite a few wins in StarCraft 1.
He did. That was a different effort. That was Effort the man.
Still a CJ player, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, CJ can call upon that effort, perhaps.
Well, pretty standard lane swap that we're going to see right now. Both top laners have recalled and will be heading in to affect this lane swap just a little bit more. And that's all going to be
Whoa.
good here. BDD.
That Q does a lot of damage now.
Yes, it does. Certainly powerful, and also a great trading tool if you do have a lot of mana built up.
Yep.
Because it is 8% of your mana now, the shield.
Yep.
And it is going to be a very early Infernal Drake.
Yeah, that's right. And that's going to give a nice damage boost to ESC Ever early on in this game. And with this comp, that certainly does seem to be designed around getting some picks. The extra damage is certainly going to be useful.
Yeah, it's all about the power spike that we're going to see from Ever when they can really set up in the early game and hit people from long range for some all-in plays.
Yeah.
So Infernal Drake is going to be what's up first. All right, so back to boring times, but we did see...
You said it, not me.
Yep. But boring times of the lane swap. Well, this one wasn't too interesting. The one earlier today was actually very interesting. This is going to be pretty standard from now on, but...
Ocean Drake coming up next, by the way.
Good old O Drake.
O Drake. That's right. That sounds like a brewery, doesn't it?
O Drake?
O Drake. You lived in Ireland for a little while.
I did.
Sound like
We're going to look at it. Ooh.
Yeah, check it out.
Well, and one of the big issues with lane swaps now is that because Rift Herald now spawns at 6 minutes and has a gajillion HP, you can't really trade objectives early on. So it should incentivize fewer lane swaps unless you're really trying to dodge a matchup, which it did appear that CJ was trying to do to get this Ezreal online, get him stacking up that tier early on. But it comes with a higher price.
Right. Meanwhile, the mid lane, pretty even up between BDD and Tempt.
Yeah,
Tempt
this
had it
is
pushing for a while.
pretty much always been a skill matchup.
Yeah.
Not going to be the most exciting lane in the world. Most of these guys perfectly happy just to start scaling up. Bless here.
Ooh, Bless right there.
BDD actually finds the pink ward, so on the wrong side, Madlife will come help him clear that out. They know that he's not there. Do their own pink ward in the pixel brush.
Yep, why not? Looks like we have a lot of members. CJ moving down to bot lane right now, or at least Haru doing a bit of farming on that side of the map.
That's right. So we are going to see the standard lane swap back. Ekko getting a bit of a freeze right now. So onus on CJ to make a play, but just a tier Ezreal that can get a little bit complicated.
Yeah, you're not going to be putting out a lot of damage quite yet on this Ezreal. Cosmic Binding onto Madlife. A little more damage. Puts up the wall.
I mean, it's a Cole Ashe. You're not going to be hurting a Braum at this point. Oh, nice job from Bless. Good
yeah.
spear.
Spear that Risk got the flash, too.
Yep.
Saw Tempt was collapsing down.
And that's a mistake that a rookie jungler can make right there. Getting greedy for the Scuttle Crab in the river. There were wards in there.
He had
for
his smite, too.
Forever. But with the positioning on the mid lane, when he was that close to the mid lane with Tempt controlling it and having the wave pushed up all the way to the tier 1 turret, made it so that he had to flash, otherwise Tempt was going to come over there and rock his socks.
True. Rock his socks.
His socks would have been rocked. You don't want that to happen, though.
No. I want my socks thoroughly unrocked.
Country socks are way better.
Country socks?
As opposed to rock and roll socks?
Oh, I don't know. I prefer just like classic socks. They sound very comfortable.
Classic socks.
Not punk rock socks.
I would like classic country socks.
Yeah.
Go back to the Johnny Cash days.
The country music that is called country music is not country music right now.
It's not. It's not good.
No, it's not. It's not good and it's not country music. I don't care how many trucks you talk about in your song.
What if it was Transformers trucks that I talked about in my song?
Transforming trucks? Well, that would be a different story, man. That'd be great. I'd endorse that fully. Of course. Talk about rolling out and like really actually transform and roll out.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
You love Optimus Prime. He was a transforming truck.
Yeah, that's true. Admirable guy.
See a guy?
Admirable robot. Guy robot? I don't know. I mean, despite being robots, they do seem to have male and female versions.
I don't want to think about that too much.
You know? Okay. Not interested in Transformer biology? Or, I don't know.
Technology?
Robology? I don't know. Technology? Sure. Who's your favorite Transformer?
I don't have one.
What? Come on. Everybody has one.
No.
You know who I liked?
Who?
I liked Soundwave because he turned into a boombox. That was awesome. When he wasn't fighting Autobots, he could just like chill out, move to the beats.
Could he really groove to the beats? Was he a dancing boombox?
No, no. I mean, he could just internally groove.
Oh, okay. Is that how you groove internally?
Generally, yeah.
Internal grooving?
That's right.
That makes nightclubs really boring.
Dance a lot. That's why I just stand there staring off into space. I'm internally grooving. It's about right. Just like Soundwave. He had a cool auto-tuned voice too. Kind of.
Okay, well, this is just going to be further lane dodging right now, as Kramer still trying to scale up and doesn't quite want to be there against the. Oops, I'm going to steal that.
No Krugs for you.
Bless comes through and tries to spear a Krug. Crazy there to catch the wave, and this has basically just been a perfectly symmetrical lane swap the entire game so far.
Pretty much. I mean, it's about as non-interactive as it can possibly be.
And as Futurama taught me, Doa, perfectly symmetrical violence doesn't solve anything.
That's right. Certainly doesn't progress a game of League of Legends. Look, they've got identical gold. There's the Ocean Drake.
He's here, showing us his
right on the trap. What a dumb Drake.
His ocean face.
Yep. His O-Drake face.
His O-Drake face.
There you go. Oh, True Shot Barrage comes through, but it doesn't steal it away. And that will be a dragon for ESC Ever. They've got 2 now.
Get some nice sustain.
Yeah.
In there. As you can see, restoring 12% of your missing health and mana every 8 seconds, if not damaged by a champion or tower in that last, or the last 5 seconds, would probably be a better way to say that. But
probably the least objectively powerful of the buffs, but it is nice, I suppose.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do, because if you can pull back and regen before you TP in as a top laner, you can get advantages that way if you just went in for a heavy trade.
I mean, I suppose it's useful in sieges too, if you just pull back for a short time and regen a little bit.
Yeah, you do have to pull back pretty hard not to get hit by absolutely anything, though, but you're right, can be of use. So.
Very true.
And at 8%, that's a lot of regen for your health.
Yeah.
Also very useful if you want to pull back for a siege and you run out of mana and you need to get some extra spells off to continue the siege. No need to recall.
Yeah, just pop into the jungle and chill out by the Gromp or the Krugs for a few seconds.
Give him a high five.
That's right. Well, no, I don't know if that'd be interacting too much. I mean, if you tried to give the Gromp a high five, I think he'd just fall over. Can he reach up that far? Probably not.
He can high five you with his tongue.
Yeah, there you go. Who doesn't want that? All right, looks like it's going to be another Ocean Drake coming out next. Oh, goody. Although, I mean, if you get both of those, now that does come to be some pretty significant regen out of combat. That's actually the point where it does kind of get...
8% is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's good.
Haru here. Clearing out some wards, or attempting to, walking through Tri-Rush. Oh, there we go.
All right, Ashe arrow onto Kramer. He's going to Arcane Shift away. There's the flash now. Madlife trying to block. Here comes the teleport from Crazy. Going to go in, gets exhausted immediately. Trying to finish off Kramer. He will. First blood comes through just before that. Bless picks it up. 2 kills for ESC Ever. They're going to give 1 back to CJ, though, as they try to turn this fight around. Crazy in a lot of trouble, so 2 down on each side. And Bless going to take the magical journey out with Key at the end. So started out well for ESC Ever. CJ responded, ended up even.
Well, the fact that Kramer actually didn't dodge that arrow was highly problematic in the first place. Very slow reaction there from both Kramer and Madlife to that gank. But they didn't respect the fact that there are 2 TPs on the side of CJ Entus. So even though they're massively overextended, Crazy comes in for the E flash to finish off this kill. But at the same time, they find themselves cut off. Great flash from BDD on the Bard ultimate right there to make sure he could maximize his damage. creates some nice zones right after that, and Tempt is there just too late because he can't get there in time. In fact, Tempt should never have come down to that fight in the first place because he didn't do anything, and he could have at least tried to deal some damage to the mid lane turret, which ultimately, if you're going to go 2 for 2 or an even trade in that scenario, would have been a win for Ever.
Yeah, you need to get some advantage elsewhere on the map. You can't win that team fight, but...
Well, you got to punish them for using 2 TPs. And
yeah.
It's not the end. Of course, now they can punish them for using 2 TPs later on in this game.
Right.
Any other overextensions here that Kramer and Madlife are going to attempt could be disastrous once the Bard ult and the Ashe ultimate are both back. Bard ult still on cooldown right now.
Meanwhile, though, back to fairly normal laning here between these two teams.
Our brief moment of perfectly symmetrical violence ended, and we're still there with a modest gold lead for ESC Ever, but nothing to write home about. Here we go again, and there it is.
On to Madlife. Can they turn this into a pick?
Oh,
Arrow comes
beautiful!
through. Wow, Madlife gets a shield up, still gets hit with that Ashe arrow, though.
That could not have been better, by the way.
Kidding.
That was basically the perfect Ashe arrow.
The timing was beautiful. That's going to be a kill onto Kramer as well. Tempt comes down, grabs that with a Sand Soldier. That is some sick CC timing, though, from ESC Ever.
That is... It sounds like it, or it seems like it might be easy to do, but remember the hit.
It's not.
The hitbox for the arrow is by the fletching of the arrow, so it's a little behind the midpoint of the arrow. So it's actually super hard to get that level of CC chaining together, and that's what we've come to expect from LokeN. Is just that's why I keep saying this is the guy to watch. This guy is an unbelievable AD carry player. I think he can be top 3 in Korea by the end of this season, and it's plays like that that are just masterfully well-timed that make me believe that that is a true statement.
Well, he showed it right there. And so that will give a little bit of a gold lead over to ESC Ever now, nearly 2,000 gold ahead.
I want to see that again.
Me too.
Why can't I see that again?
I don't know. I'm not in control of these things, Monte Cristo. I don't know if we can do that. Well, we can. We can do replays. We should.
Oh, they're going to set it up again. They
Ever.
were seen by a pink ward in the river brush. So pinged out right there in the try, just a little bit of a mission. Got to wait for those ults to come back off cooldown. But CJ, they weren't playing around the Bard ult cooldown, and they were punished. They used their double TP to prevent that play from happening before, but the execution was so on point.
Yeah.
And that's against an Ezreal Braum lane. Talk about hard to pull off, but they did it.
They did. Yeah, I mean, I suppose the shield stops the a little bit of damage, but doesn't stop the stun.
Yeah. And getting hit by that Bard ultimate. Madlife a little bit surprised by that, but he had no time to do anything at all.
Ocean Drake number 2 now for ESC Ever. We'll see if they can pick that up. Haru in position to try to steal this one. Oh, nice tempered fate from Key. They don't get it, and ESC Ever picks up a kill afterwards, too. This team is looking so good in Game 1.
Oh my god. Like, that ultimate, sure, you can predict it, but they knew that Kindred was going to be coming over the wall right there, so they preempted it, and that's a stasis effect, so
yeah.
You can't smite through that.
Yeah. So that's 2 Ocean Drakes now for ESC Ever, and that 1 Infernal Drake at the beginning of the game. They've picked up all 3 so far.
Wow, excellent execution out of the bot lane here from ESC Ever in this game. That is very impressive what we've seen so far. And sure, it's just the early game, but remember that they blind picked this Ashe. That's how confident Ever is in LokeN. Just no respect, really.
Well, remember, I mean, CJ picked up Braum, and then the response for Ever was to pick up Nidalee and Ashe.
They're
like, all right,
confident
we don't care.
play.
Yeah, and it's worked out. That confidence has paid off. They've looked amazing.
I still think objectively it's not a smart maneuver because you're basically saying, that's one of those moments where you're basically saying, okay, we're just going to outplay you.
Yeah.
And you have more tools to counteract our plays because all it takes is a short cooldown arcane shift to dodge that out, or Madlife hopping over to dodge himself to the AD carry. But they're making it work. What can you say?
They sure are. Infernal Drake coming next. Again, that would be the second one of the game.
Okay. So this is
Madlife
is there, standing in a pink ward.
Arrow gets flashed, and that's a good trade.
Just wasn't enough backup there. Big minion wave in the mid lane, so Viktor wants to stay there and make sure that's up. And the minion wave and bot pushed up, so Ever making a timely play, a timely invade into the enemy jungle.
Well, I like, too, that they just throw out the Ashe arrow. They're like, I don't think they were expecting a lot from it, but they did expect to get the flash at least.
Yeah, and why not?
Yeah.
Just go for it. Dragon's not going to be up for another few minutes. So get those summoners out while you can. Your arrow will be back up for the next dragon. The flash will not be.
Very true. Crazy just keeping his top lane pushed up on that Ekko. Has a nice 30, almost 30-something CS lead now.
So we talked about the team compositions and how CJ probably has an advantage in late game team fights, especially when QSSs start coming through or Zonias, so BDD can also dodge the engage from Ever, and he's going to have to TP right back to the mid lane to prevent his mid lane turret from going down to Tempt, who is rapidly pushing up and has that Ryze to chew through the turrets.
Right.
But in this particular scenario, Ever is using their early game pressure. They're playing around the bottom lane power spike. I talked about that coming in. This is what Ashenbar, this is where they're going to be strong, and they need to set up these picks and transition that into objectives. Well, so far we're looking at 3 dragons to 0 for Ever, which is really going to put a clock on this game, especially if they get another Infernal Drake here. The regen is already crazy, then their damage is going to be nuts, and that will allow them to compete with CJ in the late game with an extra 8% or 16% damage, and if they get the Ancient Dragon after that, they're going to have 24% increased damage, which will certainly do wonders in these team fights and make up for their lack of, I think, advantage in a late game team fight situation.
Yep. Baron is up. The Rift Herald was untouched this game. And so he decided to just get out while the getting's good.
Was it getting good right there?
Well, it kind of looked like he offed himself, so I don't know.
Hey, well, Ever doing a wonderful job of controlling this bottom side, and credit to them, they're playing around their strength extremely well. The bottom lane is quite strong. They have vastly superior wave clear with the Runaan's Hurricane down on the Ashe already, building the BF Sword into the Runaan's. So, playing the pressure game, even Crazy up here in topside, just bullying around Untara. Doesn't really look like it, I know, but he is able to slowly wave clear and chip away at this turret. And Dragon's up in 2 minutes, and if Ever gets this one, CJ is going to be in a lot of trouble. Yeah,
I mean, if that damage boost jumps up to 16%, that's insane.
Yeah, it's a lot. And there we go.
Never Fate used, doesn't hit anybody. He coming through anyway. There's the exhaust onto Haru. Madlife throws up the shield, but not a lot of damage blocked there. Kindred ultimate used. Madlife gets out of it. Kindred goes down anyway. BDD falls as well. A double kill comes in for Bless, and ESC Ever just seems to have this fight no problem. There goes Kramer. A kill for Crazy. Meanwhile, Bless picks up the triple, and this team is just dismantling CJ Entus.
Well, they have that early game advantage. And look at this. Key forces him next to the TP right there. Meanwhile, remember, Viktor isn't back in lane yet, so Ever knows they can take this fight, right? Come in immediately. Bless is trying to mop this up. Does pick up a kill with a long-range spear, and then starts getting into the mix, flashing forward to deal some damage within melee range. And Tempt, what a beautiful Azir play all the way through the red Brambleback pit right there, onto the other side in order to help pick up those last kills. And now ESC Ever is really running away with this game, and damn do they look good doing it.
They really do. I was not expecting such crisp play out of these guys today.
I didn't expect this either, Doa, but this is very impressive.
Yeah. Well, I hope they can keep this up, because it's going to be a really good season if they can.
Yeah. Scary team. Tempt playing well in that mid lane, even against a player that was as hyped up as BDD was coming into the middle of last season after he turned 17. And BDD has shown very good play. And CJ's bread and butter was late game team fights, so you can't count them out. They've been able to come back from some ridiculous deficits in the past.
Oh, that is true. I mean, they rely on Kramer, they rely on Madlife to help set up plays, but it's going to be tough.
I mean, Ever's team fighting is looking really strong, and here we are, 4 dragons at 22 minutes.
Oh, Untara engages onto Key. Key blown up immediately, couldn't get on the magical journey. Madlife takes it, though, to get onto Crazy. ESC Ever comes back in. CJ really wants this Infernal Drake. They cannot allow ESC Ever to take this one. CJ trying to get a nice spear onto Haru. The Infernal Drake getting lower and lower. Can they get it? No, they can't quite. CJ picks it up, And now CJ trying to win this team fight crazy on his own in the middle as BDD picks up a kill. And this is a convincing fight for CJ Entus. ESC Ever probably should not have fought that one.
No, and that's where the old ESC Ever comes in.
Yeah.
They never would shy away from a fight in Challenger. And sometimes it's a 4v5. It's not the end of the world if you don't get the Infernal Drake. You just got to let it go.
Yeah, I mean,
because look at this. We're only 22 minutes into the game. If this Drake goes down, there's still 2 more you can pick up before the Ancient Dragon spawns in 35 minutes. You already have 3.
It's going to cost them their bottom tier 1 turret as well. So really does
poor
not work
decision.
out for ESC Ever. And that's where, you know, you can still see this is a bit of a rookie team. Tempered Fate does not connect BDD, but it does force him into Q. Flashes for that Cosmic Binding. LokeN loading on the damage with that Ashe. BDD does pick up the kill on Key, though. They end up trading 1 for 1. Props to BDD for making something out of that.
Well, it was also a bit of a misplay there by Ever, because what happened is they actually layered their CC. They layered the Cosmic Binding instead of perfectly chaining one into another.
Yeah.
Especially since BDD didn't have flash up, so they didn't maximize the stun duration on BDD right there, and that could have led to a more decisive play from Ever. Also, LokeN maybe could have flashed to get damage down a little bit earlier, but
Could be.
so a little bit of a miscalculation there. They do pay for it, but still support for the mid laner. Worthwhile trade.
No, we didn't quite get it.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, we did?
Yep.
Wow. Bless gets the grump.
And Bless is 6-1-4 in this game. He's having an outstanding performance. And look at him, Lichbane Nidalee. Will allow for some interesting split push scenarios too.
Yeah.
But also just his assassination potential. Playing the pick comp. If somebody gets hit by an Ashe arrow and Nidalee hits you with a spear and then closes that gap with a Lichbane and pounces towards you, you're just dead.
Yeah. Damage is looking very, very good. ESC Ever trying to respond with a turret up in top lane now. Key gets seen by a ward, but they will get that top lane turn.
Yeah, they still have a huge gold lead, obviously. 6,000 here at 25 minutes.
Yep.
CJ was the comeback team of last season, though. I can't really stress that enough, where I thought they were dead to rights many times, but their late-game team fighting was their biggest strength.
Yeah, very true. You can't count them out. The thing is, you can't count out a team with Madlife on it. He's going to find a way. Untara notices Crazy has that turret aggro, uses the twisting advance to get a little bit more damage onto him. But that Ekko's pretty tanky already.
Yeah, he is.
Magical Journey.
The problem here for Ever is that so much of this gold, of their gold lead, is actually on Bless. And Nidalee is not the best jungler in the late game. Will be a Mountain Drake up next, by the way, as we can see as we pass the pit. So much of this gold is on Bless because he's got the vast majority of the kills. He's been a part of 10 out of 11 kills. He has a 50 CS advantage. And this is kind of, not with the kills, but with the farm, this is where Nidalee has to be quote-unquote even in the late game, because Kindred just adds so much more to a team than a Nidalee does. QSS, interestingly, on Bless as the next pickup, trying to avoid getting caught there by the twisted advance.
Yeah, I mean, it does break that at least.
Yeah, breaks Viktor Braum stuns too, so.
Yep.
There is a lot of value in that if he wants to just get right into the thick of things and not have somebody crowd control him and focus him down immediately.
Well, that's definitely possible.
Well, that's what he's been doing so far, and he's been playing these team fights very aggressively as an Nidalee, but also beautifully. Threading the needle with some of those spears and not being afraid to flash pounce into some of these engagements.
Yeah. ESC moving into the enemy jungle. Ashe arrow goes through, does not connect with Madlife like they were hoping.
Yeah,
but
a little bit wide.
Cooldown.
Yeah, is a short cooldown.
You can be pretty liberal with that ultimate.
Yes, you can. Absolutely. So no sign of a Ryze yet here for Tempt. That's going to be a pretty key item for them come the late game. Ryze now onto the Nidalee. So they just need to be able to kite as best as possible to avoid LokeN getting jumped on and killed. LokeN also going with the third item QSS, which I really agree with here because he's the one who's really under threat. Remember that the Viktor ult has been changed so that it does more damage now if you can keep somebody in it for the entire duration, but it does damage less frequently. It ticks every 2 seconds and has lower upfront damage. So CJ's goal with this Viktor is to hold people inside the ultimate to really maximize that damage, and they can do that with obviously stacking up the Braum passive, with the Twisted Advance and then the Gravity Field too. So it's crucial that he's not caught out by that, because the base damage right now, I think the level 3 ult is over 1,300, which is deadly for an AD carry.
Yeah.
Especially when you start to tack on AP ratios to that.
Oh, hi Kramer. Bye Kramer. Bless getting into the enemy jungle again. Just being really annoying with that Nidalee.
Yeah, he's been super good.
Has been. But we're at the point in the game now where CJ, if they're going to make a comeback, this is around when it would happen.
Yeah. All going to come down, I think, to this next Drake, because
Yep.
the Mountain Drake not going to actually mean a whole lot for Ever's composition, because they're a decent siege comp with the Nidalee and the Azir, but Ashe walking up to auto turrets is a fast way to find yourself rooted by Maokai and exploded.
Right. They are going to go for it, though, and CJ's just going to give this one up. Not interested in the Mountain Drake, I guess.
I just don't see really how ESC Ever is going to use this Drake that effectively.
I mean, it's a little bit more damage to turrets. I mean,
Yeah,
you do more damage. That's not bad.
Definitely not bad. So we're going to have, oh, we're not going to get another one. Sad times.
Oh. Wah, wah. That's right. Not 6 minutes between now and when the Baron spawns, so, or the Elder Dragon, rather.
Close, though. Very close.
Yeah.
Still, 2 Oceans, an Infernal, and a Mountain Dragon with another 50% buff will be a powerful tool for Ever. Could be a lot worse for CJ because they got that Infernal.
Teleport coming in. CJ
Bold.
gonna go for this Baron. That's right.
They know Ashe is in bottom lane.
The ESC Ever is trying to collapse as fast as they can. Here comes the Ashe arrow. Ashe sends her regards. Who's it gonna hit? It's gonna go right onto Kramer, actually, and the damage from Crazy. Whoa, Tempered Fate comes in. Stalls that Baron out for just a moment. Kramer throws a true shot barrage from behind, and this is good for CJ. Kramer barely got out, barely got the ult off as CJ picked up that Baron. Kill came in for each side, but CJ, the ones with the buff in the end, now Bless a little bit on his own. Cosmic Binding doesn't pin Untara to the wall, but Bless gets out anyway.
No, they're just trying to control the waves right now, and a great call from CJ, but rookie mistake there from ESC Ever. LokeN should not have been in the bottom side of the map this late into the game, pushing up by himself.
That's right, and now ESC Ever in a lot of trouble. Key very low as well. Whoa, okay, CJ is starting to kind of make that comeback happen now. There's an easy kill from BDD.
And you have to be careful for that. Now, what they were trying to do was to push all the minion waves to minimize the damage that CJ could do with this Baron buff, because they have to push out all their waves in order to start taking objectives. But, I mean, can't be alone like that in the bottom side as an Ashe at this point in the game. And you wonder whether or not that was a good idea. The
Tempered Fate.
The Tempered Fate. They were trying to buy time, obviously, but it wasn't the best setup. And remember in our last series when we saw that Tempered Fate into the Ekko Parallel Convergence, and I feel like that was a better play, but Crazy had already used his Parallel Convergence at the mouth of the Baron pit,
right,
which basically forced CJ to continue doing the Baron instead of turning. But I think that wasn't very well coordinated or team fought by Ever, because you could have come in with the Tempered Fate and then set up like a 5 or 4-man stun right there with Ekko.
Yeah.
And it probably would have ended a lot better for Ever, but they did, I think, panic a bit and misplay that.
Seems that way. So the gold lead for ESC Ever not really meaning a whole lot now as CJ pushes up with this Baron buff. They need to find that sort of scrappy fight that they're looking for. They need those picks.
Yeah, and they're CJ again starting to mount that comeback. 5K gold the difference, but with their late game advantages when it comes to damage, or team fighting, I should say. It's a pretty major concern. 3 minutes though until the
Elder Dragon.
Oh, Elder. I called it Ancient earlier. I don't even know what it's called.
Elder Dragon. It's not that old. It's just an Elder. Not ancient yet.
They'll introduce Ancient Dragon next patch.
It's true. It's even
for,
bigger.
For games after 60 minutes.
That's right. It's the Generic Dragon. It comes out when games have lasted over an hour. That's right. Yep.
And it flies around the map, killing the team with the fewest amount of kills in the game.
See, that's what we
need.
To
punish you for not being bloodthirsty.
That's what we need. Oh, speaking of bloodthirsty, whoa, LokeN just gets caught completely. Tempered Fate may not end up saving him. Nope, it won't. Bless throws the spear in. CJ, you know, for a team that's supposed to be finding picks, they're getting picked now.
Yeah. Greedy play there. Going into the jungle. Nice death brush set up by CJ. And instead of just playing defensively and using that Hurricane Ashe for the wave clear, they get a bit cocky and see how much it costs them. At least they have the Azir now in this bottom lane. And none of the waves are in a good place for CJ. So at least Ever, despite all their flaws and getting picked off, they actually did set up the waves very well so that CJ can't make a lot of use out of this Baron. But they're getting a few things here and there.
I like your idea, though. Something that just ends the game after about 60 minutes. It's kind of like when you're playing Sudden Death in Smash Brothers, the bombs start falling. We need something like that in League. That'd be great. Barons just start popping up everywhere.
I think it should basically, and I say this in perfect jest, not meaning this as a serious competitive suggestion.
Really? Because we're going to quote you on this.
I think what should happen is every team at 60 minutes, if you haven't gotten a kill in the last minute, it flies over and kills one of your teammates at random. It's like,
that sounds great.
Forces you to fight. Whoop.
Yeah. Oh, bless. Maybe not wanting that fight.
And there's a big difference you can see with Viktor right now. You saw that big tick of damage after 2 seconds. Bless doesn't flash, though. He did have to use his QSS to avoid getting stunned in the center of that gravity well. And this is where CJ's composition comes online. They fought back from a pretty substantial 6,000 or 7,000 gold deficit.
I mean, Kramer's died 4 times this game already. He's 1, 4, and 5, and yet he's terrifying right now.
Well, welcome to Ezreal, Noah.
Yep, exactly. And this is what CJ is kind of known for. Doesn't really matter how that early game goes, as long as you've got that late game team fight, as long as you've got Kramer in a spot where he can really carry the team.
And Ever has given up those advantages. They look so crisp in the early game, but now you can see that CJ is a more veteran roster and starting to take over through superior shot calling and finding little ways to get back into this game. And Ever misplaying a couple of team fights, making really silly lane assignments like putting Ashe into the bottom side when the Baron could have been taken by CJ, and they're paying for it.
Yep, Elder Dragon is up.
A hawk shot, just checking the Dragon right now. Maokai is pinged out. They know he's a blue buff. So they can see Maokai.
I want to see Mordekaiser take the Elder Dragon.
That's a good question. I actually don't know what happens now with Mordekaiser and dragons.
Yeah, we may never know.
I hope we never know. So Ever actually opts to set up the Azir turret and take an inner tower instead.
Well, the thing is they know that the Elder Dragon for CJ is nowhere near as big of a buff as it would be for ESC Ever.
Yeah. They'll fall back now. They just saw a low HP turret and decided to push up, keep the minion wave bottled up on the side of the map of CJ with the Azir passive. Crazy, gonna check that with the Time Winder, doesn't find anybody, but he can't be 100% sure there was nobody in that brush.
Oh,
yeah.
There's definitely people in that brush.
Fortunately, there are a lot of wards here and a Scuttle Crab, and they saw them going into that brush, and now they see them coming out of it. And they wasted the Azir passive. They're gonna go ahead and take the blue buff first. Again, the changes to that means you do get a lot of AP at this point in the game.
I mean, Tempt can certainly do a lot of damage if he gets the opportunity.
We do see the Mortal Reminder coming in from LokeN this game, which is powerful against Maokai, so that he can't just heal up with his passive and Grasp of the Undying throughout a team fight. And, of course, the lifesteal onto Kramer as well. So, considering he has Hurricane. Wow, Frozen Mallet onto Haru. That's a weird one. But I guess he just wants to start attacking the back lines.
Apparently. Playing that Kindred very aggressively. And ESC Ever, they're going to go for a sneaky Baron. CJ coming up, though.
Well, they can do this Baron so fast, Noah.
That's right. Untara can't get there in time. Teleport used. CJ or ESC Ever against the Baron. Nice arrow onto Madlife. Can they get the pick? Looks like they may be able to. Lamb's spike goes down, keeps Madlife alive for the moment. Turning right onto Haru at the end. There's the engage from Crazy. A kill for LokeN, a kill for ESC Ever, and they look to have CJ dead to rights, although BDD turns it around with 1 kill. Kramer doing some damage, but it looks like Ever does get the Baron. does get the big team fight win, 1 for 4, and this could be the game.
Yeah, this is going to be the game, Doa. They've got a huge minion wave right there with 2 cannon minions, easily able to push this into the Nexus with that Baron buff, and Ever answers a sneaky Baron with one of their own. It's going to carry them through in this game.
Wow. There's a ward, just in case. For safety, you know. First Nexus turret goes down. ESC Ever, such a strong, solid early game. A little bit of a misstep in the mid game as CJ showed they were a great team fighting team. But in the end, ESC Ever takes it, get the ace, get the kill. GG.
Yeah, and that game, as we take a look at that one, what an impressive early game from Ever. They've played around their strengths on the map so well. They played around their ability to create those picks.
Yeah.
And that's an inspiring start. Still looking a bit raw when it comes to closing because they made some really silly decisions. But this last team fight, going through this again, there's everybody clogged up in the choke right there. Haru trying to do some work on the outside, but LokeN is just getting free auto attacks on him.
Right.
LokeN turns around now. And just the pursuit, the speed that this Ekko and Nidalee have to close this game is pretty huge.
Yep. They got a lot of damage. And I got to say, that was a really fun team comp to watch. I mean, they were able to be super aggressive. They were able to get all those picks. It's a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And if they can transition that strong initial advantage into a cleaner late game where they're not making honestly very silly and obvious mistakes like sending the Ashe into that bottom lane.
Well,
that's something that can be fixed pretty easily, though.
Still a rookie team.
Yeah.
And we can see that. But
look at that damage to champions. Good job, Bless.
I guess so.
Absolutely huge. And he still had lower than both Ezreal and Viktor in that game. But again, it wasn't about team fighting for them. It was about setting up the picks, getting the advantages, having a man up, and then taking objectives. So just I'm impressed by Ever to do so well in the early game, and that's a strong place to start as a new team.
Yeah, that's right. And CJ's got to be reeling a little bit from that one. I mean, they kind of did what CJ did. They tried to get Kramer powered up, trying to kind of rely on him, and it didn't work. So it'll be interesting to see in game number 2, you know, what they might have in mind.
CJ needs to have a stronger early game at this point in time. There's not really an excuse any longer.
It's weird because it's been years since CJ has had a strong early game. I mean, even back to the CJ Frost, CJ Blaze days, the early game was never what they were good at. They were just really good at powering Flame up on CJ Blaze or waiting for those late game team fights on CJ Frost, and that's carried through to CJ Entus after the two teams kind of merged together. But we live in an era now where you do really need some semblance of an early game.
Well, it's also that BDD, when he came in, he was renowned as an assassin player, right?
That's right.
He's been on Azir duty for a lot of his time since he started halfway through the season in spring.
Yeah.
And I feel like BDD, if you allow him to open up the map for you to split push to roam, could provide more pressure just based on his champion pool that he still plays in solo queue. So
yeah, and it's interesting too because again, CJ hasn't really ever had a big assassin mid laner either. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, Ambition was probably the closest you would say.
Yeah,
back in the day,
not. We wouldn't call him. If we think about Ambition champions like, you know, Nidalee, the mid lane Nidalee was one of his biggest picks of all time, and that's it's quite different.
That's right. Well, we'll see what CJ has in mind to try to tie up the series in game number 2. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back right after this.